Hey folks, it's YoshWolf here with a quick video for Crusader Kings 3. The Azure patch just came out, and I wanted to cover some of these things that can be found within the patch notes. Maybe I'm just a nerd, but I love patch notes. Today, it would appear that we got some gameplay changes, bug fixes, and other miscellaneous improvements. So let's get to it. The first item on the list is simple enough: game rule presets. Now, you can customize the game how you want and reuse those settings over and over. I'm sure this will save people a lot of time. I'm glad that alongside this change, they've also added a more robust character finder feature, which is great, because the previous one was lacking in many ways, often providing you with less than phenomenal picks for your strategic contracts. Marriages. Men-at-Arms are getting the ability to be summoned separately from your regular army. I'm glad for this additional flexibility, as it'll probably save a lot of time not having to wait around for your band of 30,000 peasants to gather for a smaller conflict or a raiding party. The trait changes are, for the most part, pretty great. They also make sense when it comes to what they do and how they would apply to someone with those traits. The additions aren't too arbitrary. For example, Forgiving grants you stress relief if you let hooks go, while Vengeful allows you to fabricate a hook on your rival, although that wouldn't be necessary if you had kept them in jail. Just saying. The balance section of the notes provides us with a list of smaller changes. However, it looks like the developers have bigger plans for how factions will interact with you. We'll look at that more in a second. But first, I wanted to briefly look at the trait updates. The biggest sigh of relief, for me at least, is that the Shy trait doesn't cause you to gain stress just for swaying. Swaying is an integral part in building the stability of your realm, and to be so harshly penalized for it was just a killer. Examples of buff traits include Craven, Fickle, Gluttonous, and Lazy, each gaining a boost to their previous abilities. And while some were buffed, it's apparent the game designers also realized that some of the traits were just too good. Characters finding themselves with ambitious or gregarious outlooks have gotten the nerf bat in the form of penalties for failing in their pursuits. In this case, it would be failing to sway a person or having to sign a white peace deal. The faction changes seem to be an important focus this time around. I was worried at first when the developers said the game would feature AI that would be much more organized and aggressive in formulating said factions. However, now that the change list is out there, I can say that they did a good job of tweaking the AI's reasoning for both joining and ignoring factions. Some examples are: additional time before AI vassals can begin to try and tear you down. Intimidated and terrified characters now have greater chances of joining factions. One of the bigger changes is that the AI will never join a faction at 80+ opinion of you or more, which makes sense, since you could have people that absolutely adored you by day, while also trying to bring ruin to your empire by night. It also looks like there's going to be a penalty if you don't have your de jure counties lined up with the primary titles of your vassals. It'll be something to look into. Your counts are less likely to join factions, and kings are more likely to join them. Overall, it seems opinions from characters are going to have a greater impact, alongside your need to find some sort of cultural and religious balance too. People who are zealous, or feel unassimilated, are more likely to join factions. And there's a host of other small good improvements like concubine penalty reductions, increased starting cash money, and scaling costs for mercenaries and holy orders based upon your realm size. As a final note, when discussing the grand blot changes, you'll be penalized if you're gregarious or generous and no one shows up to your party. The AI section features a lot of changes, but some of the more important ones have to do with warfare and how the computer will use its armies to both assist and fight you. The AI appears to learn how to use its stacks of soldiers better, including a useful change where the computers are more likely to assist in battle up to 2 counties away, although I've had allied armies turn around or stop on me right at the most important points in the game, so we'll see how well it's fixed. Outside of battle changes, the AI is now more smart about pushing specific casus bellis on both their own and others' behalves. It appears that they can also take into account how many people are fighting a stronger enemy when determining if they too want to fight that stronger enemy. Just don't be like me and lose 2 consecutive wars against West Francia, who chose to almost lose their entire country just to stop my one county from rebelling. Some of my favorite changes in the patch are the UI fixes, especially the ability to more easily compare military strength to your opponent. Previously, you'd have to look at their number of soldiers and then examine your own in a different panel nearby, but now it places them side by side like a tug-of-war struggle, in bar form. Some other weird quirks I almost added to my 100 facts video as bonus facts have appeared here as now fixed. I have seen the bug where you get 10 to 20 ally requests all at once, and also took note that the only show X Faiths button was doing the opposite of its intended function. They even fixed the strange events that would pop up where you'd be offered a 0% chance for something to succeed. Later in the notes, you'll see that the update made it number your leaders' names better when having a repeat name. So now, all of your Johns and Peters and Elizabeths should properly have numbers attributed to them. Under game content, there are a lot of smaller changes that aren't necessarily game impacting, like your courtiers smelling bad if they have a rotten trophy, and winter commanders gaining the ability to win skiing competitions easily. It feels like all these small additions and changes really do enhance the game a lot. From simply fixing historical locations, like the change of Olympus replacing Sparta for Hellenism, to now letting you keep track of your past partners, alive or dead. I won't cover the mod section really, besides to cover the fact that it looks like they're going to have a lot more tools that they can work with and manipulate in the creation of their content. That's always a plus to me. I would love to use and try out mods, but for now, as I make videos and new content comes out for the game, I like to use the base experience and expansions to provide information and tips. This way, it isn't confusing for new viewers, but also helps me keep track of what game systems and options are part of the core gameplay and which would be added or altered by mods. So, the bug fixes section. Quite a lot of things to see here, folks. I can honestly say, as I read these notes for the first time, it brought a smile to my face. Most to all of the concerns and issues I had with the game thus far were addressed by this point in the patch notes, but here are some more highlights. Random game overs, despite having an error, are going to come to an end. Hidden piety costs for free holy orders have been fixed. Getting booted into observer mode upon succession rather than playing as your heir. I never knew why this happened, and frequently made me worried I'd lose my achievement progress, but usually I could select the same country and resume where it left off, achievements still intact. Bubonic Plague now has a sense of timing and always arrives exactly when it means to. Character selection list filters player is not get correctly. Okay. The domestic affairs task no longer lists a loss of crown authority as a potential side effect. Your partner will not only cheat less often if they have a high opinion of you, but you'll also get bothered less from the event where your lover asks if there were other lovers in your life, because you've had many lovers, because you do have many lovers. Exiling a character now makes them hate you rather than hate themselves. If only they could fix this problem for me. End of the era achievement was fixed. After I successfully did it multiple times, I finally got it, but I'm glad it's fixed now. Children cannot fight the troll anymore, and they've also lost their power to become wolf, moose, lynx, bear, or wolverine slayers. What? You'll starve less now, as your armies won't starve when their supplies aren't being used. That's nice. And that should do it for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video and got a good idea of what to expect from this new patch. Azure appears to have a lot of things fans were asking for. Bug fixes on common issues, improvements to core gameplay concepts, and letting us know that impatience pays off, at least in-game. Do you have any questions about the patch notes? Did you see some changes you didn't like? Let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. I will continue to make new videos about Crusader Kings and beyond. I'd also like to wish you good luck and happy empire building in the future. Thank you for watching. YoshWolf out.